Hello, my name's Tim, welcome to Tim Purpose Reads, and today I'm going to be talking to you about The Golden Age of Magic by Luanne G Smith. So, The Golden Age of Magic by Luanne G Smith is a book that has come out this year. I got it for free because I have Amazon Prime, and it's every month I get emailed like a list of books that you can get for free, and this was one of those books. And it caught my attention for a couple of reasons. The main one being the idea, the premise of the story. So let me tell you about the book. The premise is we are set in a world where fairy godmothers exist. You know, bibbidi bobbidi boo, you now meet Prince Charming. That magic exists. And there are 13, they call them Fey Guardians. You know, guardian fairy. And there's 13 of them in the world. And historically, they have been used to help people out, to help promote the arts. They pick a protege and they manufacture good luck for them to make sure that they get that big break. To either, you know, they talk about meeting Prince Charming and a wedding, you know, that's, or they become a successful artist or singer or sculptor or something like that. And this book, I think that's a really interesting premise, and the main character, Celeste, is a kind of fey guardian, a guardian fairy in training. It's kind of her first mission, so to speak. And that's a cool concept. And the next thing that really elevated it for me from a world building perspective is this book is set in the 1920s. So we've just had the First World War, and that completely changed Europe. The number of kingdoms and royal families decreased rapidly, and Europe looks very different. So what's happening is that the guardian fairies, they're looking to change. They're like, we can't do. There's not that many royal houses anymore. There's just not that many princes to set up marriages to. So actually, Celeste, you need to go to America because that's where the new, actors are going to be the new princes. And Hollywood producers are going to be the new kings. So you need to go to 1920s Hollywood, the golden age of Hollywood, and work your magic there and pick a protege and work with them. What a great bit of world building that is. And you see from the older Fey Guardian characters that they miss the old days. They miss the days of, the third prince of Bavaria, because Italy used to be 100 odd kingdoms, and Germany used to be 100 odd kingdoms, and Austria and Hungary, the Russian Empire, and all this kind of things. They're all gone. So there's very few royal families, and they kind of reminisce about the old days and how Europe has changed so much since the Great War. And when you follow Celeste as she travels to America, you see the impact on ordinary people of the Great War. Because one thing that their magic can do is they can sense the hopes and dreams of people. And she meets like a young man, and he has very little hopes and dreams because he survived the Great War, and that was his hope. He's reached his dream of just being alive, and I think that's really a really great bit of world building, a really strong theme that I picked up throughout the book. That was my favourite part of the book. So in the story, Celeste, this guardian fairy, she discovers a protege who is a seamstress, and she tries to, manufacture luck and good circumstance to help this seamstress succeed, ultimately. That's her goal, is to do that. And then, trials and tribulations on the way. There is a rivalry involved. There's the reason why she has been sent across America, as they say it's for, she thinks it's for her own safety because there's another guardian fairy who is out to get her. We follow that POV for a bit. And that's where the main issue with the story is the first third of this book is incredibly boring because you get revealed the idea of guardian, fairy godmothers. That's interesting. You get this idea of the Great War, and she now has to come to America because that's where the princes and the kings and the princesses will be, but with small p's because they're Hollywood actors and actresses and starlets and things like that. That's interesting. That's kind of all you get from a premise perspective. You know, me talking about it for 30 seconds is the interesting bit. The rest of it is really slow going, of her trying to find her protege and trying to understand why she's come to America and learning how to use her magic to, you know, there's quite a lot of her using her magic. It's all based around like appearances, glamour, fey glamour, you know. So she goes to a hotel and she's like, well, I want a room. And they go, well, we're fully booked. And then suddenly a room appears, you know, because she used her magic to create a room, you know. She can get into any building. She could disappear from sight. She doesn't go invisible, just people don't notice her. That's really cool magic. That's super overpowered magic. And she uses gems to like use that magic. But just nothing happens in the first third of this book. And I actually stopped reading it and went and read another book, and then came back to it, and I was like, okay, let's have another go, because it wasn't pulling me along at all. There are also a couple of instances from a prose perspective, I really noticed this in the first part when I was really struggling to read it, where I'd kind of trip over the sentences and kind of have to reread them a few times, or particular bits of prose that really made me like kind of step back a bit. You know, so there's one bit where she sees this incredibly handsome man who's you think might be the romantic lead. I'm not going to say whether they are or not, but you kind of get that impression. And she puts her hand, Celeste puts her hand over her mouth, but then also bites her lip under her mouth, like, bit weird. There's another bit where like one of the guardian fairies meets a man who she maybe had previous relations with, and the way that her hunger is described is pretty gross, but like it's very like romance fiction, how I would imagine a romance book would be written. Maybe this is romantasy, I don't really know, because there's not a ton of romance in it, but the way the prose was written at certain points, you know, was very romantic, in particularly like non-romantic situations. It kind of took me back a bit. But yeah, so then once I came back to it, the plot kind of got going, and we started to understand there was an antagonistic force that was trying to stop Celeste, the main character, from achieving her goal of getting the protege up. And then it became a mystery on who's the bad guy, who's stopping them. And the problem with that was that the answer to the mystery wasn't very interesting. The ultimate villain ended up being a relatively small character who then became like a cackling maniac, you know, and the answers of why the villain was the villain wasn't really answered in the world building that was set up. It was answered in the world building that was set up much later in the book, when a couple of characters then basically tell Celeste all the exposition that she should already know, having been a guardian fairy since she was, you know, it's her first mission, but, you know, you kind of let people know what happens. But they didn't, so that your reader, could understand it at the time just before it happened. So I found the mystery not that interesting, and the resolution to the mystery really challenging. Actually, no, I found the mystery interesting because you just genuinely didn't know, and you were trying to figure out, and there were lots of different threads, and then you found out, oh, this is what it is, and it could be a person. And the main character, Celeste, makes an assumption. It's like, oh, it's going to be this person then. And I didn't make that assumption as the reader, so it felt like a disingenuous rug pull of when it turned out not to be that person, you know. Because I thought the main character just made a very quick assumption that wasn't really necessary. So, in the end, I did finish the book, and I read the last 2/3. You know, the climax was pretty good. It was very interesting. The mystery elements really struggled, but I really loved the setting. I really loved the world building. I really loved the idea of these kind of fey creatures, guardian fairies kind of helping people, and the promotion of art. I really like that theme. The idea of manufacturing luck, but the protege still has to earn their success. You know, you can't do their homework for them. You just have to make sure that the bus runs on time so they get to school on time to hand their homework in. You know, that kind of thing. So I gave it 3 stars overall, but it's kind of 2.5 to 3. Would I read another book by this author? Honestly, probably not, for a couple of reasons. One, I discovered this through Amazon sending me an email, and there was a list of things, and so I clicked on it. Like, I didn't search out this book or this author. So the likely chances of me finding that author again are honestly quite slim. But also, this book hasn't made me go, oh, I'm going to put Luanne G Smith as an auto-buy author. I'm going to really look out for their work. Yeah, so overall, a bit of a mixed bag, but would I recommend it to people? Ooh, I think if you really like guardian fairies, you know, fairy godmothers, things like that, that's the main pull. And the 1920s, you know, golden age of Hollywood vibe. That was the big pull for me, and that's what kept me going through the book, rather than the plot or mystery or characters. So unless someone really liked those, if I knew the other person really, really liked those things, I'd go, yeah, give it a go, and they might really enjoy it. If they had no inclination to that, then I don't think the rest of the story would be enough of a hook. But hey, let me know if you read the book, or another book where the world building and setting were the main draws rather than the plot or the characters. Please give this video a like, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Now, get out of my house.